That's better light, maybe, whatever. Okay, so basically under here I'm keeping the same needle. I've got some flesh tone here I don't want, so I'm wrapping that up and saying no, go away. I always stitch, let's get rid of this yellow, pack up this yellow because I don't want that for the moment. I've got a load of white in there, us under thread. Where is my actual white? Oh, here we go. Here it is. My favourite one to use when I'm stitching together, and I use for a top stitch actually, is Superior Threads Magnifico. I absolutely adore this thread. I just want to move away on my thread stand because I do buy them like huge amounts at a time. So I'm just going to thread this through my thread stand that's been number 1 thread that's coming through, which is going to be, it's absolutely white and it's pearlised and I absolutely love it. So I'm just going to bring that down. I still got my embroidery needle on because so far it's working okay for me. So just set up my Magnifico, which I also, as I say, it's a pearlised, it's a bit of a pearlised stitch, so I will use this as top thread as well. Now, oh, let me think. What did I say? I think the value that I wanted is probably the pink. Now, you have to, I'm using Robert Kaufman, and it's my view which is the best side. And the way I will view it is the way that the pinpricks in the top line is a down, then that's the front, yeah? So that's the front as far as I'm concerned. So then I'll take the other strip, which I know I want in the middle, this light one. And again, I'll look at that and turn it round and say, pinpricks are down in the selvage, so I lay that on top of the other. Okay, they should, let's bring them up and shake them. They should marry up to one another. Okay, so it's ready to go under my needle, although I've just noticed, excuse me, un momento, because I have just noticed, obviously I was initially in embroidery mode, and now I'm not, so I am going to say, well, that's already loaded, so get rid of him, and I can on my machine switch out plates. I don't want that one, that's a single stitch. What I actually want, that's a wide stitch. What I actually want on mine is what we call an HP plate. Now that means high precision. Now the reason that's high precision is depending because of the way that the under stitch comes up from the bottom, that's entirely it's to the left, but that means you get a better stitch because you're stitching in the left hand view. But the other thing I need to do now obviously is just this is a entirely oh, going the wrong way, that's my needle, so sorry, going the wrong way. Jesus, why is it like this? Right, so now what I need to do is just using my little screwdriver, as this is ankle deep, this one is not, it is not a press off foot, not a release foot. I need to actually unscrew my foot holder. That's my, I'll put that up there, because I always know what it was. And then I'll go to my box of goodies over here and I look for my high precision foot. Hello! Right, I've just found my HP foot. It is an ankle foot in as much as it's not a lift off or a drop off, but a lot of machines may not have this. Mine does. What I would suggest to you, let me just tighten that up. What I would suggest to you, if you're piecing on a normal machine, what you would use is, let me see, let me just get some of my feet over. Yeah, this one. Is that the one? Yeah. The over. Right, okay, yeah. What you would use is, and I'm hoping that if I put it here you can see it. What you would use is this one where you've got a bar down the outside, yeah? You could then use your digital machine to bring your needle over and make sure that you've got a 1/4 inch, which would be held by this bar as you run fabric through. I'm not doing it that way at the moment. I prefer to do it this way. So now I've got this foot on. I know with this foot that this is a perfect, for me, a perfect 1/4 inch. So that's what I'm using. So again, as I said, I'm not going to pin it. I am just going to lay one over the top. All right, and that's going to be my end one. So I just put the residue of it on my lap as I go under the machine, yeah, to the edge of my precision foot. So I'll just say then, well, okay, drop down my hold, 240. No, I want it to be tighter than that. Let's come down to 2, because this is piecing in a way now, so I don't want like a normal construction stitch. I want a much smaller stitch, so I'm saying, oh, actually 2 is as big as I want to go, yeah? I don't know what speed I have my machine set at, because I got it in the middle. Well, I can make it bigger. No, I don't want to make it bigger. Keep it in the middle, because at the end of the day, what I am going to do is control this outside edge, bearing in mind the other edge, that they should be absolutely the same, and keep that running through my machine. And at any stage you think, oh, it's going off a little bit, then bring it back together. If you know that the distance between that and your hand that you're holding it in is fine, well then yeah, of course, you can go faster. Looking at it again, am I keeping it all together? Yes, I am. So yeah, I'll go faster. It's not a race. You see, I moved off it again, so I'm just bringing it back into line between the end of the needle and my tummy, and I'm not pushing, I am just guiding, keeping it on the edge of that foot, which I know is correct. Now I've noticed I can see more pink than I can peach, so I just guide it back over, yeah, and then continue. You can go as slowly as you're comfortable with, or you can go as quickly as you're comfortable with. Right off the end, cut your thread, or bring it up and cut it on the side, or whatever you need to do, and then that now is one bit stitched to another, yeah? Now, yeah, so now this is entirely stitched together with a 1/4 inch seam. Brilliant. But we started, if you like, because that was the top, didn't we? And this is what I want to get across to you, because things can get, when you sew something as long as this, things can get warped. So now I know I want to put purple on it. I know the peach I want it in the middle, but I am taking the whole thing and I am turning it the other way around, yeah, and opening up. See, you think, wouldn't you? You'd think. Look at that. You'd think they would cut the same length. Well, they're not, are they? But this is what happens, right? So I start with the pink underneath. Now I want the peach underneath and I want to sew it from the other direction. So now I am going to put the purple, and yet again I come to the end, look at the selvage and say which way do the lines go. That's the top, so that has to go down, and I put in the purple on top. Okay, and I'm gonna have to sew it the other way around, aren't I? Yeah, I am. I'm gonna have to do it from the other way around because there's no other way for me to do it, to be honest. Well, it's only 3, but if you use multiple strips, you need to start the sew one side to the other. So, although we started on there, now get the purple, look at it and say, where's the indentation? So, okay, they weren't there. So let's put the purple on top this time. Yeah. What I should do is turn it over and do it the other way. But it's only 3. But I just wanted to get the idea that sometimes you need to, if you're doing a load of these, you need to, and again, it's on my lap, it's rested on my lap, so it's not dragging, and I am putting the edges together, and I'm continuing. Stopping, making sure that I haven't ironed this, but all I want to do is make sure these teeth edges match as I continue. I can see they're coming apart, so I'll rematch it again. That gives me another 6 inches. Nearly there. So quick, this. Unbelievable. Match the teeth again and continue. As I said to you, if you're not used to sewing at speed, you don't need to. I'm just putting my foot down because I know I can. I am matching this up and I am saying, well, yeah, I can put my foot down. But look, if you're not happy, you're not sure, do it like that. In a race, at the end of the day, you want it to be right. So, there you are. Do it like that. That's fine and dandy. Right, now I've got 3 pieces sewn together, yeah? So the next thing I'm going to do, 42 or wherever they were, it's not the same that end. It's not really the same that end, but we want to get rid of the edge of it anyway. And what I'm going to do now is put that on my ironing board and just, I'm going to press, because that's a lighter colour in the middle, so I'm going to press away so that the light goes to the dark, and the same with this one, that the light goes to the dark, and just press that flat. I don't want to move the fabric. I literally want to press the fabric, not like scrub it, press it as I go. So iron down, move it along, iron down, yeah? Pressing, not ironing as such. Alright, so here are my 3 strips. As I've told you before, I want to press it up so that the light ends up under the dark. But first thing we need to do, and it's a bit difficult when you've got a strip, is set the seam. But remembering this is the full width of the fabric, so set the seam, roll it back, then in the bit that you've just set the seam, press it up. It's a bit laborious because now you've got to bring up, you know, we got 44 inches of fabric here, so we got to bring it up, set the seam, which allows, the reason why we set the seam is it allows the thread to cinch in and tighten on the fabric, and that's why we do that in the first place. Then we roll it up and then we press the roll up, yeah? Okay, now I'm going to do that the entire length, but just so that you know, what would I do next is turn it round the other way. Okay, I'm going to do it all on camera because that's daft. So we've done the peach to the purple, so in the same way, in the same vein now, I would set the seam on the pink, roll up the pink so that the cream was hot, the cream seam is underneath a darker colour, and then set that seam. Okay, so now obviously you've got to do this entire length, but now you, oh, that wasn't very good, was it? Let me just do that again. Well, what happened there? I'm gonna set that seam once more, then roll it up. Oh, very, very hot at the moment. Roll it up and then, yeah, set that seam. Okay, sets, you know. So now, if I turn it over and I show you, what I'm hoping that you will see and understand is that the cream is in the middle and both sides are set against, or seams are to the darker side. Now obviously as I show you more and more, I haven't done yet, I haven't done this, but that's what I'm going to do the entire way along, so it will all end up like this bit I just did that is set in that way. That's what I'd like you to do. Okay, so I did it with 2 strips now. As I said, I'm not sure about how much I'm going to need, but I've done it with 2 strips. They've been pressed in the way that I showed you. So that's a bit peach, that's a bit yellow. I possibly could have made that a darker yellow in retrospect, but anyway, here we go. This is what I want to do next. Let's start with this strip. Bearing in mind my initial applique squares were 12.5 unfinished, so they will end up 12-inch finished. So if you look at the diagram I showed you, I needed to have 4 6-inch squares to marry up. Well, obviously they start off at 6.5 inches before being finished. So I've got a 6.5-inch ruler, which I will now prop on to my fabric. I need to bring this up so you can see that I'll start with, naturally, I need to cut this to get rid of crappiola, yeah? I'm also judging top and bottom straightening the fabric as I do it, because nothing is ever perfect, but we don't mind if it's a couple of millimetres here or there. What I would like it to be, which is not, is to use these lines, but it's not working for me. So I am, generally speaking, putting it on as best as I can and making sure my lines are straight, okay, with my seams, even if they are not on my seams. It is parallel to my seams. They are the same top and bottom, and in this case now I am going to have to go the other way to cut, holding it firm and steady as I can. I just cut off those salvages, okay, keeping it as firm and steady as I can, and then do cut up there. So now that's a 6.5. That's a 6.5 inch square, and I'm going to continue. I worked out I need 16 of these to finish the quilt. It's not really going to happen, I don't think. I think I'm going to have to do a few more strips together to get this to work, because that's another 6. That's 2, right? Let's just see how we go. That's 2. That's 3. I know they're all the same way round at the moment. Don't worry about that, because we can rotate whatever we want to. 3. I'm looking at these parallel lines to my seam lines. 4. Oh, I'm not going to get 8, am I? No, 4. Best I can carry this is 6, 4, 5, 6. This is the best I can carry, is 6. I could have done the mathematics before, but it doesn't matter. 6. And we do know, I do know, that this is why I do myself a mock-up pattern before, is I know how many I want. I want 16. I got 6. Okay, that's not big enough to help anyone, but I'm not going to get rid of it. I'll keep this, because who knows when I might want that for something else. And again, then the secondary piece. Well, let's start where you know we've got a good end. Oh, and can I just say, this is Robert Kaufman. They're all supposed to be exactly the same length. Look at that. Just look at that end. Yeah? They're all supposed to be the same. Robert Kaufman, they're not, are they? Right, anyway, so let's start at a good end. Put our measure back on. The reason why I was trying to work out in my mind is because, let me just bring this all nicely in sight, okay. I wanted to do it in this fashion, so I've got vertical, horizontal, which then, in my mind, gives me a secondary pattern, which you'll see when the whole thing is laid together, of this kind of windmill, well, you know, this kind of, I know they're not the same purples, that's blue and that's purple, but it will stand out when the quilt is finished that you've got this secondary pattern of this whirlwind in the middle. So I'm going to do it like that. Now, what was puzzling me was because I had to go and use some more colours. Let me just move them out of the way a minute. So I had to go and use some more colours, and I was thinking, ooh, right, I just got 4 strips of the new match of 3. So was I going to put 1 inside every square, or was I going to do 2 squares that add 2 pieces in? And this is what I was trying to work out in my mind's eye, the way I wanted it to fit, the way I wanted it to look. And that is something for you, using your own mind, to work out at the end of the day. So never mind about that. That's, you know, again, it all corresponds with colours that are in my outside border. So let's come back to these. So what are we going to do next? Now we've cut them. Okay, well, we're very lucky in as much as the way that I've laid them out, and you can rotate them and have them whichever way you fancy. I just want to do it my own little way, so that's what I'm doing. Now, as with any other square that we're making, what you need to do, because these are 4 blocks that we want to turn into 1 block, yeah? Top line, we've got no seams to match. All we need to do is to match up edge to edge, yeah, on this, and sew down the right hand side, and exactly the same with this. Move it over, match it up, edge to edge, and if it's not, as this one seems to be a little smaller than the one below it, doesn't matter, just centralise it, okay, and then sew it down the left hand side. So I'm going to do that and come back to you. Okay, so I've just done that, and you know, I've literally done 1/4 inch and set the seam, that seam's facing that way. I've done 1/4 inch on this. You can't see it because that seam is facing the other way. So when I bring one down on top of another, they're going to have seams facing in different directions, which allows us to marry up the corners of it. But I have noticed, can you see, there is a bit of mismatch of size. I don't know why, so I am very quickly going to use 1 or 2 rulers to help me out with this. I think I may use my 12.5 inch, because at the end of the day, we want it to be 12.5 inches, yeah? Which you can see is really not at all. Right, so because I've got this mismatch now, forget the 1/4 inch because that's taken up in the seam. So that 1/4 inch line can go on the seam. Then I can see, well, that's still not true. So, but I've got enough fabric down the bottom that is running true. So I can just even up, oops, that top line. Now, when you're, here we go again, 1/4 inch on the line, make sure I've got enough at the top. Bring it down to where, you see, I'm just squaring up. Now, this is, the difference of how you really make a square fit, alright? So now you can see that that is a much better aligned piece of work. And obviously the next thing we're going to do is come down and marry up. The first thing, we need to get some pins. And this is when I always use pins. And the first pin that I'm going to do is at that centre, right? So I want to definitely pin that centre. I'll move it with my fingers and feel it lock. yeah, and it should lock because we've got opposing seams. And opposing seams means I've got one seam following this way down and the other seam's going that way down. And now if I just move my pin back a bit, if I open it up, you see, can you see that that seam is laying absolutely on top of the seam beneath, yeah? Now I don't really need to pin any further, but I will. I'll just bring it up nice and straight and pin it. Now again, this is slightly oversized, one way or another. Doesn't matter because we're going to square that up before we actually set the block into our piece of work. Alright, so now I'm just going to sew, and I'm going to start this end and just sew down the right hand side again. Alright, so that's the block now finished. That's going to be the 12.5-inch block. As you can see, I've got a perfect match, both sides on this cross. And I know you may think, oh gosh, you're so finicky about squaring up before you even sew it back together and all that. But that is what makes a difference between an average quilt and a good quilt. Alright, so now, even more, I am going to say, well, I wanted it to be 12.5-inch to match my 12.5-inch squares. So now I am going to sit this on and I am going to pick a line, my best line that I can, and say from the shortest bit here to the shortest bit there, okay, and the 6 1/4 line should run down the middle, which it does, yeah, and let's just move it up slightly. So I've got the shortest bit here and the shortest bit there is within my, so now I'm the 6 1/4 line is working through my middle as well, right? Okay, so now I'm just going to adjust that slightly because this is me and I am the nicotine, yeah, I really am the nicotine. My friends will tell you, oh God, don't you ever fuss. But it's a difference between a good quilt and a really nice quilt. So now I'm quite happy to square up any outstanding bits. I've moved it slightly, so I'm going to have to work to this line now I've done. Yeah, I know they're only slithers. They're only slithers. I should be doing this on a rotating mat so that I don't have to keep waltzing around my square. But now I know this line is correct. I'll do the top next. And now it's only slithers. I know that line is correct. Now I'll do the bottom. So I know that line is correct. Right. Now I can pick it up, and I know I cut it there as well. So now I can pick it up, and the only one that's not working for me is this side over here. So I can bung it back on my best ability and say, well, there's your 12.5-inch mark. Okay, look at my 6 1/4-inch line down the centre as well. And I know, yeah, I know, I am really bringing up a bit of finicky. But you want a jigsaw puzzle or a tiled puzzle to fit, you've got to be the same size, haven't they? Right, so that now, a little bit any bits, that is now a perfect 12.5-inch square that's going to marry up to my other, let me see this big one, my other 12.5-inch squares that eventually, you see, it's going to get sewn to. That's perfect. So this is the reason why I do it. Yes, it is very, very fussy, but you do your own style. I'm showing you best practice, if you like, best practice to make yourself a really good 12.5-inch square. So now, what's left to do? Well, we need to take all the other bits and do exactly the same as we did to this, 4 times more, so we end up with 4 of these, and then we're ready to set it in the quilt. I do hope you're enjoying this, because now we've moved on and there's lots more involved rather than just embroidery. And as I said to you before in the last video, actually no reason why you couldn't make a quilt like this just doing this, because look how fast I made 16 squares, and then the rest of it is just making them into a bigger square. Yeah, so fast to do a jelly roll quilt, and you could make the whole quilt of this, then use a lovely border on the outside, and you don't need to do appliqué, but I am encompassing my appliqué because I don't, it's worthwhile me doing it. Please join Crafty So-and-So's. Please share, like, subscribe. It all helps to sort of share with other people. Thank you very much.